Ooh, yeah, just like last week. It seemed like we were getting ready for Thanksgiving, and now it's already Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas. I hope this is a time of year where you can reflect on the things that the Lord has done for you. Amen. And I hope it's a time where you can make some new memories with family and friends. As I was researching this topic, I was thinking, boy, okay, I got to do a Christmas sermon. What in the world can I share that people don't already know? So I was doing some research on when was Jesus really born? Somebody ought to have figured that out. I checked a bunch of places, and there was probably about as many places I checked that's how many opinions people had on when Jesus was born. Most say, though, June, and then the other bunch of people said October. The ones that said June, they had some compelling arguments. Some said October, and they had arguments that were equally as compelling. But the real fact is, we don't know. We don't know when Jesus was born. The Bible's silent about that. So we've chosen the day to celebrate his birth on December 25th. I think that is a fantastic day to celebrate. You say, why? Why, Brother Matt, would that be a fantastic day? Don't you know that was once a pagan holiday? Yes, I do. I do know that. There were many different types of paganism, and they seem to all have holidays right around this time when the days were getting shorter. They would have a big festival, week-long festival. We got to pray to our gods. And then the days would get longer. They say, see, it works. It works. The Romans in particular would pray to the god of Saturn. He was their god of agriculture. Pray to Saturn, and they would honor the winter solstice, beginning of a new lunar cycle. And they would pray to their gods. Now, why I say, though, December 25th is a fantastic day to celebrate the birth of Jesus is because these people, and when I say these people, I just mean people that hate Jesus. Will do anything to get rid of him. These new pagans, they've taken away so much from us already. You know, I remember a couple of years ago, we used to have a debate on whether or not you could put the 10 Commandments on public property. We don't have that debate anymore. You know why? Because we lost. We lost. There used to be a debate on whether or not kids could pray in school. We no longer have that debate anymore. You know why? We lost. There's an attack on getting the motto of "In God We Trust." One nation under God. And it may be childish of me, but I'm happy that we finally took something away from them. I'm happy that we took one of their festivals and turned it into a Christian holiday. That in and of itself is reason to celebrate. So like I said, I know many of you could probably recite Luke chapter 1 from memory, and you probably don't need me to go over it, or Matthew chapter 1. But if I didn't, it would be a very short sermon. So, before we talk about the New Testament, let's go to the Old Testament. It was in Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14. This is written approximately 700 years before the birth of Jesus. And Isaiah chapter 7, verse 14 says, "Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel." There are those that will say this is just figurative language. It's impossible for a virgin to conceive a child. I kind of chuckle sometimes when people try to put limits on a limitless God. Why would that be hard for God? No. But the first part, I should say the second part, gives us two things here. Virgin giving birth, calling him Emmanuel. Second part, easy, no problem. Call the kid Emmanuel. There's kids called Emmanuel all the time. Okay. First part, I only know of it happening one time, of a virgin giving birth. That's something to pay attention to. So both of these things happened. The people in this time, the Jews at this time in this area, were very excited. They read the Old Testament. They knew the Messiah was coming. They had full faith in it. And they were awaiting the Messiah very, very eagerly, if he came the way they wanted him to come. Jesus had different plans. These Jews, though, they were being oppressed, abused, exploited. Taxes were way too high. The caste system made it so they would never, ever be anything more than subjects of the Romans. There was no way for them ever to get ahead. And these Jewish people didn't realize it, the ones living at this time, but the Messiah was on his way. Jesus' parents were from Nazareth. Nazareth was a small town. If you went to one of the bigger towns like Judea or somewhere, they may not even have heard of Nazareth. Very, very small. If you were to compare it to a town in New Mexico and maybe something like Hobbs or Daddle, kind of poor, run down. Sounds like Rama. Anybody ever hear of Rama, New Mexico? Yeah. Maybe you don't know. Rama hit the big time. They got a Family Dollar now. But it was small and run down. People may have not heard of it. Even one of Jesus' followers, Nathanael, made the comment, can anything good come from Nazareth? Yeah, something good can come from Nazareth. Something good can come from a small, poor, run-down town. Gabriel, the angel. You know, the Bible never refers to Gabriel as an archangel, but he does the job of an archangel. So if somebody was to argue and say Gabriel was an archangel, I probably wouldn't argue with them. But the Bible never calls him an archangel. Anyway, Gabriel went to Mary. Before he went to Mary, though, 6 months prior, he went to John the Baptist's parents, Zechariah. Told him, your wife is going to have a baby. You're going to be a father. Very, very shocking because they were already old at this time. Gabriel's gotten pretty good because now he's delivering this message for a second time. And he goes to Mary and tells her pretty much the same thing. You are going to have a baby, and it's going to be an impossible birth. That's what Jesus specializes in, doing the impossible. So Gabriel goes to Mary and says, hey, you're pregnant. You're going to give birth to the Messiah. And he also says, you have found favor with God. We'll talk about that in a minute. Now, I know you've all probably seen the movies, the pictures, the whatever it was, depicting Mary, mid-20s, riding on a donkey. Everything's calm. She's all put together nice, and it's all great. Wasn't really like that, though. It wasn't really like that. Did some more research, and it says, we don't know how old Mary was when she got engaged. But in small towns, you have a smaller pool of young girls to choose from. You have does that make sense? Small town, smaller pool of girls to choose from. The girls back then were promised to men at a much earlier age than I had once thought. They said the average age of betrothment in a small town was anywhere from age 12 to 15. That was the average age of betrothment. And what a betrothment, that's just engaged. It's just a fancy word for engaged. When you were betrothed back then, you were legally bound to each other. It wasn't like now when you give an engagement ring and, oh, we're going to get married and set a date. And when you get married, then you sign the marriage certificate. Back then, when you were betrothed, there was papers being signed back then. It was you were legally bound to that person. You were pretty much married to that person, except the marriage was not consummated and you were not living together. That's about the two things. Other than that, in the eyes of everybody, you were married. You were legally bound to each other. If you wanted to break off the engagement, you needed to get an official divorce. Parents would arrange the marriage. So probably what Joseph did, went to Mary's father, asked for her hand in marriage. I'm sure the father said, well, you could provide for her. She could provide a large family for you. Great. Let's have a wedding. Usually the women didn't have much of a say-so in that. I was talking to Alyssa. She said she would not go for that at all. If you were living back then, you might be picking your husband. Marrying out of convenience was typical. Marrying out of love, well, if it happened, great. If not, oh well. Sorry. So I guess this is a good time to ask, what's your all's opinion of Mary? Well, what do you think? Mary, the birth mother of Jesus. There are some who say, she was a vessel. She was a way for Jesus to come into the world. That's it. I don't know. Others elevate Mary up to God. I certainly wouldn't agree with that one either. But Jesus, well, I should say God chose the birth parents of Jesus very, very carefully. He had to. Our very first teachers, most people's first teachers are our mothers. The mothers are the first teachers that we have. All the way from birth, they teach us how to act, they form our character, they form pretty much, they set our lives in motion, how our trajectory is going to go. The Lord chose Jesus' mother and father very, very carefully. Look at Joseph, the type of man he was. Joseph found himself in a very awkward position. Mary says, I'm pregnant. And I was pregnant by God. He's like, yeah, right. Sure you were. I mean, can you imagine this? Imagine what it must have been like for Joseph. He was a little bit concerned. The woman you're engaged to says she's pregnant, and you know it's not from you. That's a hard pill to swallow, isn't it? And then to say it was from God, it's like, why are you insulting me? I'm not stupid. I think most guys would be a little concerned with that news. But then an angel comes to Joseph and tells him in a dream that everything's good. And Joseph says, okay, he's fine with it. Now, I don't remember a whole lot of my dreams. I think the last one I had, it was a nightmare. I was shopping at Costco. Yeah. I woke up in a sweat and everything. It was bad. Anyway, though, I don't base my life decisions on dreams. But that must have been some dream. Yeah, he was fine with it after he had a dream. He could have, if he wanted to and found out this information, he could have had Mary stoned to death. But he's just said, you know what? We'll just quietly, I'll go my way, she goes her ways, and that'll be that. And then he had the dream, and everything's good. Like I said, that must have been some dream. So now Mary, who's the same age as an 8th grader would be. I teach middle school. I see 8th graders running around. I cannot picture any one of them being, well, a couple I could probably picture being pregnant. But I mean, it's not, that just doesn't happen. It's not supposed to happen. But an angel comes to Mary as well. Said, you have found favor with God. How many of you would like an angel to come down and say you found favor with God? How many of us would like that? I mean, wouldn't that be something? You'd be like, okay, wasn't expecting that. Yeah, you have found favor with God. 12, 13, 14 years old. What in the world did she do? What did she do to find favor with God? What was so great about it? I think Luke gives us a clue. I mean, Mary stands out from everybody, pretty much everybody, because she was chosen to be the birth mother of Jesus. Let Luke chapter 1, verse 38. I think it'll give us some insight. Why did Mary stand out? She's told that she is going to be giving birth at a very, very young age, and she's not married. Luke chapter 1, verse 38. This is her response. I am the Lord's servant. Mary answered, may your word to me be fulfilled. I am the Lord's servant. I'll do whatever you need me to do. That's why she found favor with God. Can you imagine what was going through her mind when she was told, you're pregnant? What was going through her mind then? My parents are going to kill me. I'm not getting married anymore. No man's going to want me now. I'm not, my friends, what are they going to say? But there was none of that. There was no excuse. There was no, I'm too young. I'm not ready. Not me, Lord. None of it. I am the Lord's servant. I will do what is asked. That's what, that was it. Isn't that all the Lord asks from any of us? He doesn't ask for great people. He just asks for willing people. If he needs you to be great, he'll make you great. He'll work miracles through you. If he needs you to part the Rio Grande, guess what? It may already be parted. But if he needs you to do a miracle, you'll do it. All you have to say is, I'm willing. And that's all he asks. All right, so Jesus was born. Everyone's happy. Shepherds are happy. Wise men were happy. Whole world rejoiced. Right? Not really. You know, with the exception of half a dozen people or so, Jesus' birth went unnoticed. But does that surprise you? How many people do we know today that have no time for Jesus? Too busy. Can't go to church. What? I got Friday sunset? Sure, I'm working at that time. I can't be bothered with that. How many people are too busy? It's no different. It was no different 2,000 years ago. It's no different today. Jesus came for one reason: to save us from sin. That's why he came. But even his own people said, I don't want a king like that. I don't want a king like that. The king I want is a conquering king who's going to destroy these Romans. If that's all Jesus came for, that would have been a very, very small task. He could have snapped his fingers and a legion of angels could have came down and destroyed every single Roman man, woman, and child if that's what he wanted to do. That would have been very, very small. It would have happened in the blink of an eye. But you know what? Those very Romans are some of the people he came to save. Why would he want to destroy them? People just didn't get it. Jesus wants to give us some good gifts. He wants to give us great things. Not things that we would get here on earth. Think about the greatest Christmas present you ever received. I know some people say, my children. No. I'm talking like something that was wrapped under the tree. Something that you really, really wanted. Okay, you all got it, right? You all got the best Christmas present? You want to know what mine was? Probably don't, but I'm going to tell you anyway. My best Christmas present, when I was 8 years old, I wanted an Atari 2600. How many of you were born in the 80s know what I'm talking about? Oh, there we go. Did you have one? Okay. Every kid did. Alex, did you have one? No, okay. Okay. Atari 2600, kind of like a PlayStation, hook it up to this TV, and you could play. It was fantastic. You know what I'm talking about, right? Yes. My nephew and I think we played with my Atari 2600. It was fantastic. Every time we would go to Sears or JCPenney's, I'd be telling my mom, and I was asking all year long for an Atari 2600. And sometimes they would come out with a promotion where it would come with 2 games, Space Invaders and Combat. I was awesome at Space Invaders. Come Christmas morning, my dad did the classic pass. We'd open up our gifts, and there was no Atari 2600. I knew it cost about $100 back in 1981. That was a lot of money back then. I knew it did. But my dad did the classic dad thing. Oh, well, okay, everything's, all the gifts are passed out, and he went to go put on his jacket because he had to shovel snow out of the driveway. He puts on his jacket, and there's one more present in the closet. It's for Matt. I knew, I saw the box. It was same size, same weight. I knew exactly what it was. I was so happy. We hooked it up, and I was playing my Atari 2600. Cartridges this big. Have one game on it. I was 8 years old, 50 now. You know where that Atari 2600 is? I still have it. Yeah, I still have it. You know where it is? It's been sitting in my garage. In fact, it hasn't been taken out and played with in over 30 years. So, I don't even know why I have it. It's just taking up space. But what I'm trying to get at, the best gift that I could have ever gotten has been in my garage for the last 30 years. Do you think those are the kind of gifts Jesus wants to give us? No. The kind of gifts he wants to give us, let's go to 1 Corinthians. Maybe this can explain it. Chapter 2, verse 9. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9. However, as it is written, what no eye has seen, what no ear has heard, what no human mind has conceived, the things God has prepared for those who love him. How many of you have a picture of heaven? Guess what? It's not going to be like that. It's not. Think about the best place ever. It's not going to be like that because it said no mind has conceived it. Our brains cannot even comprehend what heaven will be like. What did John the Revelator say about heaven? He wrote a little tiny passage about it. He got a vision of it. I'm like, I would have written volumes of books on it. But our brains, there are no words to match what heaven is like. If you think that you can get a picture of heaven in your brain, it's not going to be like that. It's going to be much better. And those are the kind of things the Lord wants to give you. Those are the kind of things he's just dying to give us. He wants us to be in heaven. He died so we could be there. That's how bad he wants us there. And he wants to show you all those things that he has laid out for us that we cannot even imagine. Now, have you ever thought of a gift that's made here on earth that you haven't received? Solid gold Rolex watch. Ooh, you know what Jesus would say? Got a pothole on one of them golden streets. That's what we're going to use that watch for. Shiny, new, red car. Fast car. Ooh, that'd be a nice gift, huh? Nice. But you know what? There's somebody once said that in heaven, just maybe we will be able to move at the speed of thought. And if not, maybe those wings will get me where I need to go pretty quick. Some people say, oh, I'd like to travel. That'd be a good gift. Travel. Venice. Spain. How about Venus? How about Saturn? Maybe. Don't know. But 1 Corinthians has told me that even whatever I'm imagining, those things I just imagine now, it's not going to be what heaven is like. Because I could think about it. So that's not heaven. It's going to be a whole lot better than that. It's all in store for us. All those gifts that the Lord will be giving us in heaven still does not compare to us being with Jesus. That is the best gift. Oh, yeah, wings and golden streets. Yeah, those are fantastic. But can you imagine just being with Jesus? That's something that we should be longing for. If there's anything holding you back from serving God this year, don't let this year come to an end without making a commitment to follow him. He is giving you and me the best gift ever. All we have to do is reach out and accept it. So Merry Christmas.